Hi everyone, I'm Sherry, also known as Sweet Melba, and thanks for joining me here for Sunday on the Porch. So I wonder if you're in your 50s or even a little bit older, are you really doing what it is you want to be doing right now? A year ago today, my husband and I left for a once in a lifetime trip, a month long in the Mediterranean, and we'd never done anything like it before. But the other interesting part of that, it was where I was, just where my thinking was a year ago today. And I was wondering, am I really doing what I want to be doing right now? At the end of the trip, I realized I wasn't. And I needed to do something to kind of change what I was doing. Not that I didn't enjoy what I was doing, but I wanted to be doing other things. So I mentioned my trip last year, which was wonderful. But my thinking about where I was in my life really started a couple years before that. My brother unexpectedly passed away at age 51. And it just really made me start wondering about the things I was doing in my life. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy my life and the choices I've made. And it wasn't that I was unhappy, not in the least. But it really started making me wonder, being someone in my 50s as well, what else could I be doing that I wasn't doing now? And it just really stuck with me that you just never know what's going to happen. And did I want to make some changes in some of the things that I was doing? So I think with any passing of a loved one, it really makes you reevaluate and look at your life and the things you're doing. And my brother was an example of just a life well lived, and that's why my channel has that focus about talking about and sharing about living a life well lived. So my mind was kind of already thinking that. And again, I wasn't unhappy in my work or the things that we were doing in our life, but it just again kind of sometimes changes your perspective a little, and you start thinking about what you might want to do a little bit differently. And that's certainly what I was doing. So back to a year ago today, when my husband and I left on the longest vacation we'd ever been on. But I guess it was leading up to this was the realization that, at this point in our life, we could go and do that. And we probably should take advantage of that opportunity now while we could. So it was, again, a different perspective that we had. And for me, it was again a wonderful trip. We really enjoyed it. We saw so many different things. Just remembering looking back on that, it was just such a great experience all around. But during that trip, what I realized was I wasn't missing my work. I enjoy my work. I own my own business. But it was on this trip that I really started to realize that I really wanted to be spending my time on other things than work. And after, 20 plus years of doing that, I really felt like I had, finished what I wanted to do there and wanted to look at what was going to come next. So again, maybe you're in a similar situation. Maybe you've been in the same career and enjoying the work that you've done. And you're just thinking at this point in your life, maybe there's something else you want to do. And that's where I was. I came away from that trip realizing again that I didn't miss my work. And it really started me thinking after we got home of what did I want to change? What did I want to be spending more of my time on? And how was I going to make some changes so that I could do that? I had been watching YouTube and I had different people that I followed, and I just kind of, again came home from that trip and wanting to do something different. So I decided to start this YouTube channel. Who knew? But I started in August of 2025. So now, May 2026, I'm 9 months on my channel and I really do enjoy it. It's, again, a creative way for me to share. And I guess the decision for me to start the channel was it kind of encompassed all these different things, right? I talked a little bit about my brother and his passing and just thinking about, a life well lived. And that was really, I was like, you know what? That's a great YouTube name. So that's what I decided to kind of use as my tag. But really focusing on the things that we do in our life that make a life well lived. And they don't have to be big things. You don't have to take a month-long trip. You know, it's the little things. Maybe you enjoy crafts and you do different crafts. I do. I don't do them all the time, but I enjoy when I do it. I love watching movies. I love going to museums and being out and doing short trips and different things like that. And so I really, with my channel, I wanted to kind of share that, but also, as I'm doing today on this video, talk a little bit about, encouraging others to other women, 50s, 60s, whatnot, to really think about the things that they're doing in their life. What are those things that you want to be doing that you're not doing? And so I thought I might could do that through my channel. And like I say, while it's been a creative outlet for me, it's also been, an opportunity, I hope, to encourage others to kind of think about the things that they're doing and what they may want to change. And I'd love to hear in the comments if, you've kind of come to that awareness. You kind of get to this next chapter, right, in our life, and you start thinking about different things and different things you want to do and activities. And, I think the only way to really progress and move forward from that is start making some small changes. So again, my YouTube channel was a way for me to do that, and I really do enjoy it. So next for me was choosing a retirement date. So I've been doing my career for almost 29 years now, and I've loved it. I've loved the work that I've done. And I think I'll miss a little bit of it, but I really wanted to do something else. And I've been sharing as of late my countdown to my 90 days to retirement, which will be June 30th. So it's getting here quick. And it, it was a hard decision and it wasn't. I just kind of knew I was there. I had done what I really wanted to do with my career. And again, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but I wanted to be able to spend time doing other stuff. So I made the decision, and granted, don't get me wrong, again, there's a lot that goes into that decision, right? But we'd been planning financially for a long time. We knew we wanted to get to that retirement point, and my husband retired 3 years ago. And so it was, continuing to monitor the finances and whatnot, and were we able to do that? So we were. And so that's the decision that I made and then we made together. But granted, not everybody can do that now. And we're fortunate and we're grateful for that. But we've also made choices and planned for that. So we're pleased with where we're at and the decisions that we've made and looking at this retirement now. So I think let's see, 63. So I'm in my low or mid 50 range, right? On the dates. So what is it, 54 maybe? 54 days left. But it, it was the right decision at the right time. And again, I don't think you have to make a decision to retire. I think you just got to evaluate where you're at, what you want to be doing, and what steps you want to take to get there sooner rather than later. I'd love to hear in the comments if you're at that point that you really want to make some changes. And what do you think those may be? And what are you looking forward to doing? So, as I said, with my channel, I really hope that by my sharing my story, that it encourages others. And this is not perfect. My channel is not perfect. My decisions are my decisions that are best for me, and they're not for you. But again, I hope that by sharing and joining me on the porch, that it's an environment in which, as a community, we can consider and talk about those things as women in our 50s and older. And know that, a lot of us are at the same point. We're all considering where we're at in our life right now, and what do we want to change, and what do we enjoy. And maybe you don't want to change anything, and that's great. But for those of us that do, I think you have to consciously think about that and make some changes where you can make some changes, some good changes, that are going to allow you to enjoy your life more, to spend more time with the people you want to spend time with, go see the things you want to go see. So by retiring, my decision to retire, it's going to allow me to do that. And I'm looking forward to that. And what comes next. So again, it's not perfect. And, my porch, I love sitting on my porch and welcoming people to the porch, but my porch isn't perfect either. So this is just really a place to consider and talk about those kind of things. So I hope you'll join me and join in the comments, if you will, and maybe subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the conversation sitting on the porch. But yeah, it's you get to a point and you start making some changes for the better. And I think we all learn from that. So again, where are we? Are we where we want to be at this point in our life? And I think sometimes we may be afraid to even ask that question. We're comfortable. Things are going good. Doesn't mean that something's going bad. We're satisfied kind of where we're at, and we're busy. You kind of have a routine, and you just kind of go with that flow, whatever that is. But again, I think each of us comes to a point in our life where, we need to take the time to actually ask that question, and consider the things that we might want to change, big or small, and allow ourselves to do that. And I don't think we do that enough. And that way, we are constantly moving forward. We're not stuck in a rut. And again, in my circumstances, I wasn't dissatisfied with what I was doing. As I said, it was my routine. And I enjoyed that. But I also realized that there was other things I wasn't doing that I really wanted to do. So um, you might, like me, get to a point where you start asking that question and you start wondering, am I where I'm at? And do I want to change anything? What am I missing? What do I want to change that'll make this more enjoyable? And reflecting back on what I said about my brother's passing, and really consider, what is a life well lived, and am I living that? So are we living that? I think that's the question we have to keep asking ourselves, even if we're comfortable where we're at. I think you still ask that question and wonder, am where I want to be, and am I doing what I really want to be doing? And if not, how are we going to change that? Well, as I said with my channel, it's my opportunity to share my story. But my approach and my decisions aren't going to be yours. But maybe it's time, like I was. I'm just sharing my experience. It was the right time for me to ask those questions. Am I doing what I want to be doing? Am I where I want to be at this point in my life? And if that's, a point in your life that you're at right now, then, give yourself the time, and think about that. So if you're 50 something, like myself, or in your 60s or 70s for that matter, just give yourself the time that you need. And I'll continue to share my story. And you want to join me here on the porch, I invite you to join the channel. I always have a video on Sundays here for Sunday on the Porch, and I'm glad to have people join me. So thanks for coming out. Thanks for watching. I hope things are going well with you, and I hope that you find some time to just kind of think about some of these things and see if this might be a place where you're at in your life now, and looking forward to what may come next. So one little tidbit at the end here, so don't hang up yet, so to speak, right? I want to share a little bit about Sweet Melba. So, Sweet Melba, why do I use that name? Well, my name is Sherry. And a few years ago, my husband and I were on a camping trip. And we were talking, I think we were trying to get our internet to work or something. But anyway, so Sweet Melba was a nickname my husband gave me all of a sudden sitting there, Sweet Melba. And he's always thinking of odd names and stuff. And at first I was like, that's just a bizarre name. But then something just kind of connected for me. It was like, Sweet Melba, that's me. That's my 50 something self. Sweet Melba. And it took me a little while for it to kind of grow on me, but it did. And I just kind of identified with Sweet Melba is me in my 50s and getting older. And so that's why I chose the name. Again, a nickname my husband gave me. But for me, it just is a realization that I'm at a different part of my life. And yeah, I'm still Sherry, but I'm also Sweet Melba, who thinks things a little bit differently than she did when she was younger. And so that's why I use the name Sweet Melba. And I really like it. And my husband still calls me that on a pretty regular basis. I guess when I do something that seems like something an older lady would do, which is fine because you know what? That's where I'm at. And I'm okay with that. So, again, thanks for joining me for Sunday on the Porch. I'm Sweet Melba, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.